you ever wondered why two people can earn the same salary, work equally hard, and even have similar education, yet one spends a lifetime chasing money while the other quietly builds wealth? Most people believe the answer is luck, a high-paying job, or being born into the right family. But what if everything you've been taught about money is incomplete? Imagine growing up with two fathers. One believed that getting good grades, finding a secure job, and working hard was the safest path to success. The other believed that true wealth came from understanding money, taking calculated risks, and making your money work for you, instead of working your entire life for money. Both men loved their families. Both wanted the best for their children. Yet one struggled financially for most of his life, while the other built lasting wealth and financial freedom. So what made the difference? In today's audiobook, you'll discover the life-changing lessons behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, a book that has transformed the financial thinking of millions around the world. These lessons aren't just about becoming rich. They're about changing the way you think, the way you make decisions, and the way you build your future. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why so many people stay trapped in the rat race, why financial education matters more than a high income, and how a simple shift in mindset can completely change your financial life. Let's begin. Introduction. Robert Kiyosaki often says that the greatest asset anyone can own is not a house, a car, or even a business. It is the ability to think differently. As a young boy, Robert had the rare opportunity to learn from two father figures. His biological father was highly educated, respected, and worked hard throughout his life. He believed education, job security, and steady employment were the keys to success. The other father was the parent of Robert's best friend, Mike. Unlike his own father, he had little formal education, yet he understood something that schools rarely teach: how money really works. Over the years, he became one of the wealthiest businessmen in Hawaii. Both fathers gave Robert advice. One taught him how to work for money. The other taught him how to make money work for him. Robert faced a choice that every one of us eventually faces. Which advice should he follow? That single question became the foundation of one of the most influential personal finance books ever written. And the lessons you're about to hear may change the way you think about money forever. The first lesson: the rich don't work for money. As a child, Robert believed what almost everyone believes, that the purpose of life is to study hard, get a good job, earn a steady paycheck, and slowly build a secure future. It sounded logical. After all, this is exactly what schools, parents, and society encourage us to do. But one day, his rich dad challenged that belief with a simple question. If working hard alone made people rich, why are some of the hardest working people still struggling financially? Think about that for a moment. Across the world, millions of people wake up before sunrise. They work long hours, sacrifice weekends, and dedicate decades of their lives to their jobs. Yet many still live paycheck to paycheck. When an unexpected expense appears, a medical bill, a car repair, or the loss of a job, they immediately face financial stress. The problem isn't that they don't work hard. The problem is that they've been taught to exchange time for money instead of learning how to build assets that continue earning even while they sleep. Rich Dad believed that fear and desire control most financial decisions. Fear tells people, They must find a safe job because they might not have enough money tomorrow. Desire whispers that a bigger salary will finally make them happy. Together, these two emotions trap people in an endless cycle. They work harder to earn more. Then they spend more because they earn more. Their lifestyle becomes more expensive. Their bills increase. Their responsibilities grow. Soon, they need an even bigger paycheck just to maintain the same life they already have. This endless cycle is what Rich Dad called the rat race. Imagine a hamster running inside a wheel. It runs faster and faster, believing it's moving forward. But when it finally stops, it realizes it never actually went anywhere. Many people unknowingly spend their entire lives inside that same wheel. Rich Dad wanted Robert to see this trap before it was too late. Instead of immediately teaching him about investing or business, he decided to teach him something much more valuable, a lesson about human psychology. He gave Robert and his friend Mike a small job. The boys expected to receive a salary. Instead, Rich Dad paid them almost nothing. Very quickly, Robert became frustrated. He felt the work wasn't worth the money. He wanted to quit. That was exactly the reaction Rich Dad was waiting for. He smiled and asked, "Do you see what's happening? Money is controlling your emotions. You're angry because you're not getting paid enough." Most adults spend their entire lives making financial decisions based on those same emotions. Those words changed everything. Rich Dad explained that most people never stop to question their financial habits. When they need more money, they don't ask, "How can I make money work for me?" Instead, they immediately ask, "Where can I find a higher paying job?" It's a completely different mindset. One searches for another paycheck. The other searches for another opportunity. Rich Dad wasn't saying that having a job is bad. A job can provide experience, stability, and valuable skills. But if your only source of income is your salary, your financial future always depends on someone else's decision. True financial freedom begins the moment your money starts producing more money. That is why the wealthy spend years building systems, businesses, investments, and assets that continue generating income long after the work has been done. The poor work for money. The rich build things that make money work for them. That single shift in thinking may seem small, but it has the power to change an entire lifetime. And once Robert understood this lesson, Rich Dad introduced him to an idea that completely changed the way he looked at wealth forever. The lesson that separates the wealthy from everyone else. After teaching Robert that working harder doesn't automatically create wealth, Rich Dad introduced him to an even more important idea. He said, "The biggest problem isn't that people don't earn enough money. The biggest problem is that they don't know the difference between an asset and a liability." At first, Robert thought the answer would be complicated. Instead, Rich Dad smiled and explained it in the simplest way possible. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. One simple sentence. Yet this tiny difference explains why some people become richer every year while others stay trapped in debt no matter how much they earn. Think about how society measures success. People celebrate expensive cars, luxury houses, designer clothes, the latest phones. From the outside, these things look like signs of wealth. But Rich Dad challenged that idea. He asked a simple question. If something costs you money every month instead of paying you money every month, Is it really making you richer? Most people never stop to ask themselves that question. Imagine two friends. Both receive the same paycheck. The first person immediately buys a brand new luxury car with a long-term loan. Every month, money leaves his pocket. Insurance, fuel, maintenance, loan payments. The car slowly loses value, yet the monthly bills continue. The second person makes a different choice. Instead of spending all his savings on something that only costs money, he buys an investment that produces income. Perhaps it's a small business. Perhaps it's a dividend-paying investment. Perhaps it's a rental property. Month after month, that investment sends money back into his pocket. Years later, both people worked equally hard. Both earned similar salaries, but one owns an income-producing asset. The other owns expensive monthly payments. This is why Rich Dad believed that income alone never determines wealth. What matters is where your money goes after you earn it. Most people increase their income and immediately increase their expenses. The wealthy increase their income and first increase their assets. That difference changes everything. Rich Dad often warned Robert about something he called lifestyle inflation. It happens so quietly that most people don't even notice. You receive a raise. Suddenly, the old car doesn't feel good enough. A bigger house seems necessary. A more expensive vacation feels deserved. A better phone becomes essential. None of these purchases seem dangerous on their own. But together, they slowly create a life that becomes more expensive every single year. Soon, your larger paycheck no longer feels large. You're working harder than ever, yet somehow saving less than before. This is another form of the rat race. The cage simply becomes more comfortable. Rich Dad believed that real wealth isn't measured by how much money you spend. It's measured by how long you could continue living if you stopped working today. That idea completely changed Robert's understanding of success. Instead of asking, "What can I afford to buy?" he started asking, "Will this make me richer next year or poorer?" It's a simple question, but asking it before every major financial decision can completely change the direction of your life. Because every dollar you earn is like an employee. You can spend it once, or you can put it to work so it keeps earning more employees for you. And according to Rich Dad, learning how to make that choice is where true financial education begins. But then he asked Robert an even deeper question. If schools teach us mathematics, science, and history, why do they almost never teach us how money actually works? That question would become the foundation of the next life-changing lesson. Rich Dad believed that the education system was designed to prepare people for jobs, not for financial freedom. That statement sounded strange to Robert at first. After all, schools taught mathematics, science, history, and language. They prepared students for exams and careers. So why would anyone say that education was incomplete? Rich Dad asked Robert a question that stayed with him for years. If a person can solve complex math equations but cannot manage the money they earn, are they truly educated? Robert didn't have an answer. The truth was uncomfortable. Millions of people spend nearly 2 decades in classrooms. They graduate with degrees, find respectable jobs, and begin earning a salary. Yet many of them never learn how to create a budget, understand taxes, invest wisely, or recognize the difference between an opportunity and a financial trap. Rich Dad wasn't criticizing education itself. He respected knowledge. What he questioned was the absence of financial education. Think about it. A young adult may know the dates of historical wars or the formulas of physics, but when they receive their first paycheck, they're suddenly expected to make financial decisions that will shape the next 40 years of their life. Should they rent or buy? Should they save or invest? How much debt is healthy? What makes a good investment? Very few people are ever taught these skills before they're forced to make those decisions. And that's where costly mistakes begin. Rich Dad explained that money follows rules, just like nature does. If you understand those rules, money becomes a tool. If you ignore them, money begins to control your life. He often compared financial knowledge to learning a new language. At first, everything feels confusing. Words like assets, liabilities, cash flow, equity, and investment seem complicated. But with patience, they become familiar. And once you understand that language, you begin to notice opportunities that most people completely overlook. Robert started seeing this change in his own thinking. He no longer looked at successful people with jealousy. Instead, he became curious. What do they know that most people don't? That simple question changed the direction of his learning. Instead of collecting only academic knowledge, he began collecting financial knowledge. He read books. He observed business owners. He listened carefully whenever Rich Dad discussed money. Little by little, he realized that wealthy people weren't necessarily smarter than everyone else. In many cases, they simply understood money better. And that understanding allowed them to make different decisions. Decisions that looked risky to others, but created freedom over time. Rich Dad smiled one day and said, "The more you learn about money, the less fear controls your decisions." Robert didn't fully understand those words yet. But very soon, Rich Dad was about to teach him a lesson that almost every successful entrepreneur eventually discovers. The greatest investment you can ever make isn't in stocks, real estate, or business. It's in yourself. Rich Dad often reminded Robert that people spend years searching for the perfect investment. They compare stocks, study real estate, and dream of owning successful businesses. Yet most of them overlook the one investment that has the greatest potential to change everything: the investment in themselves. One afternoon, Rich Dad asked Robert a simple question. If someone took away all your money today, what would still remain? Robert thought for a moment. His savings could disappear. A business could fail. A house could lose value. Even a job could be gone overnight. But one thing could never be taken away so easily: his knowledge, his skills, and his ability to create value. Rich Dad smiled. That's why your mind is your greatest asset. Money can be lost. Opportunities can disappear. Markets can rise and fall. But the ability to solve problems, learn quickly, and adapt to change will always create new opportunities. This is where many people make a costly mistake. The moment they start earning a salary, they stop investing in their education. Not school education, self-education. They stop reading. They stop learning. They stop improving their skills. Instead, they spend their extra income on things that lose value over time. Rich Dad believed that wealthy people think differently. Whenever they earn more money, they first ask, "How can I become more valuable?" Because the more value you create, the more opportunities naturally come your way. Imagine two people starting their careers on the same day. Both earn the same salary. The first person spends every evening watching television and repeating the same routine year after year. The second person spends 1 hour every day learning something new. He reads books about investing. He studies communication. He improves his leadership skills. He learns how businesses operate. 5 years later, their salaries may no longer be the same. 10 years later, their lives may look completely different. Not because one worked harder, but because one kept growing while the other stayed the same. Rich Dad often said, "Your income can only grow to the extent that you grow." Those words completely changed Robert's perspective. He stopped asking, "How can I make more money?" Instead, he asked, "How can I become the kind of person who naturally creates more value?" That single shift in thinking changed everything. He began reading far beyond school textbooks. He became interested in sales, negotiation, accounting, investing, and psychology. At first, none of these subjects seemed connected. But Rich Dad explained that real success comes from combining different skills. A brilliant inventor may fail because he cannot sell his idea. A talented employee may remain unnoticed because she cannot communicate her value. A business owner may lose everything because he never learned financial management. Knowledge works best when it works together. Every new skill strengthens the next one. Over time, Robert realized that successful people weren't simply lucky. Behind every visible success were years of invisible learning. Books no one saw them read. Mistakes no one saw them make. Skills no one realized they had developed. Rich Dad encouraged him to become a lifelong student. "Never let your education end when school ends," he would say, "because the world keeps changing, and the people who keep learning will always stay ahead of those who believe they already know enough." Robert carried that lesson with him throughout his life. He discovered that wealth isn't built in a single decision. It's built through hundreds of small decisions made consistently over time. Every book you read, every skill you master, every conversation you learn from becomes another brick in the foundation of your future. And once Robert understood the importance of investing in himself, Rich Dad introduced him to another lesson that frightened most people, but empowered the wealthy. It was the lesson about fear, failure, and why taking calculated risks often separates those who dream about success from those who actually achieve it. There is one emotion that quietly controls the financial decisions of millions of people every single day. It isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't a lack of opportunity. And it certainly isn't a lack of hard work. It's fear. Fear has a way of disguising itself as logic. It convinces people that staying exactly where they are is the safest choice. It tells them that trying something new is too risky, that failure is embarrassing, and that making mistakes could ruin everything they've worked for. Rich Dad believed that this silent fear was one of the greatest barriers to financial freedom. He once asked Robert, "What do you think successful people have that others don't?" Robert guessed it was money, then education, then connections. Each time, Rich Dad shook his head. Finally, he answered his own question. They've simply learned not to let fear make their decisions. Think about the first time you learned to ride a bicycle. You probably fell. Maybe more than once. You scraped your knees. You lost your balance. But imagine if you had decided after the very first fall that riding a bicycle simply wasn't for you. you would never have experienced the freedom that came later. Money works in a surprisingly similar way. Most people make one financial mistake, lose some money, face one disappointment, and then promise themselves they'll never take another risk again. From that moment on, they choose safety over growth. Rich Dad wasn't encouraging reckless decisions. He wasn't telling Robert to gamble or blindly invest in anything that promised quick profits. He believed in calculated risks supported by knowledge, preparation, and careful thinking. By now, Robert had learned lessons that most people never hear in a lifetime. He understood that working hard alone wasn't enough. He knew the difference between assets and liabilities. He realized why financial education mattered and why investing in himself was the greatest investment he could ever make. But Rich Dad believed there was one lesson that connected them all. Everything begins with your mindset. Before a person becomes wealthy financially, they must first become wealthy mentally. At first, Robert didn't fully understand what that meant. After all, how could thoughts possibly affect money? Rich Dad explained that every financial decision begins with a belief. A person who believes, "I'll never be rich," will rarely look for opportunities because, in their mind, the outcome has already been decided. Someone who constantly says, "Money is hard to earn," will often accept struggle as a permanent part of life. And a person who believes, "Successful people are just lucky," will never take the time to learn the habits that actually create success. Whether those beliefs are true or false doesn't matter. People behave according to what they believe. That is why two individuals can grow up in the same neighborhood, attend the same school, and even earn similar incomes, yet end up living completely different lives. One sees obstacles, the other sees possibilities. One focuses on excuses, the other searches for solutions. Rich Dad often said, "Your mind is like a garden. If you don't choose what grows there, weeds will grow on their own." Negative beliefs work exactly like those weeds. They spread quietly. They become habits. Eventually, they shape your entire future without you even noticing. This is why wealthy people carefully protect what they feed their minds. They read books that challenge their thinking. They spend time with people who inspire growth. They ask better questions instead of making quick excuses. Most importantly, they never stop learning. Rich Dad encouraged Robert to replace limiting questions like, "Why can't I afford this?" with empowering ones like, "How can I afford this without creating more debt?" Notice the difference. The first question closes your mind. The second forces your brain to search for solutions. That simple habit completely changes the way you approach every challenge. Over time, Robert realized that becoming wealthy wasn't about chasing money every single day. It was about becoming the kind of person who naturally creates value, recognizes opportunities, and makes wise financial decisions. Money simply follows those habits. Rich Dad smiled one afternoon and told Robert something he would never forget. Most people spend their lives trying to earn more money. The wealthy spend their lives becoming the kind of people who deserve more opportunities. Those words stayed with Robert long after he became successful. Because true wealth is never built overnight. It's built one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one lesson at a time. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: your financial future is not determined by where you were born. how much money your parents earned, or what job you have today. It is determined by the choices you begin making from this moment forward. The journey to financial freedom doesn't start with a bigger paycheck. It starts with a different way of thinking. And once your mindset changes, your actions begin to change. Your habits begin to change. Your future begins to change. Because every great fortune is first created in the mind, long before it ever appears in a bank account. As Robert looked back on everything Rich Dad had taught him, he realized that none of the lessons were really about money. They were about choices. Every day, life presents us with small financial decisions that seem insignificant in the moment. Whether we spend or save, whether we learn or remain comfortable, whether we let fear control us or choose to grow despite uncertainty. Over weeks, months, and years, those small choices quietly shape our future. Rich Dad never promised that becoming wealthy would be easy. He never claimed there was a secret formula that could make someone rich overnight. Instead, he taught something far more valuable. Wealth is built through discipline, patience, and continuous learning. He believed that anyone could improve their financial future, not by chasing shortcuts, but by developing better habits. Think about the lessons you've discovered throughout this journey. You learned that working harder doesn't always mean becoming wealthier. You discovered why assets build wealth while liabilities quietly drain it. You saw how financial education gives people the confidence to make smarter decisions. You realized that investing in yourself often produces the greatest return of all. You understood that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's one of the paths that leads to it. And finally, you learned that every lasting change begins in the mind before it appears in your bank account. Now the question is no longer, can I become financially successful? The better question is, am I willing to think differently from the majority? Because the world doesn't reward people simply for working hard. It rewards those who solve problems, create value, continue learning, and make decisions that others are often too afraid to make. Remember, financial freedom isn't about owning the most expensive house or driving the newest car. It's about having the freedom to make choices without money, controlling every decision in your life. It's about waking up each morning because you choose to work, not because you have no other option. That is the kind of freedom Rich Dad wanted Robert to understand. And that is the lesson that has inspired millions of readers around the world. Perhaps the most important investment you'll ever make isn't in a business, or in real estate, or in the stock market. It's the investment you make in your own knowledge, your own mindset, and your own ability to create opportunities where others only see obstacles. The journey won't happen overnight. There will be setbacks. There will be mistakes. There will be moments when progress feels slow. But every book you read, every skill you develop, every smart financial decision you make brings you one step closer to the life you truly want. So, as this audiobook comes to an end, remember one simple idea. Don't spend your life working for money. Build a life where your knowledge, your assets, and your decisions allow money to work for you. That single shift in thinking has changed millions of lives. The next one it changes could be yours.